Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Melissa. Today I'm going to be kicking off a new project series, and it is going to be a hybrid. It's going to be part project pan, part use it or lose it, especially where color products are concerned, because I can't be locked in to using one blush all year long or one eyeshadow palette all year long. Cannot do it. So I'm going to show you what I'm wearing, because I'm wearing a bunch of things that's in this project. I'm going to talk about some things that I'm not wearing that I'm going to be looking at this upcoming month, and also to kind of go over, not the rules, because there are no rules. I'm making this up as I go along, but kind of my thoughts about how I'm going to proceed with this project. Let's get started with what I have on my face, just for fun. So I have a couple of different primers on my face, and I'm not really a primer girl. I don't really know how I ended up with some of these primers, especially some of these full-size primers. So I think I had an idea of something I was going to do with them, and it never really gelled, and I didn't do it, and I now have full-size products. Actually, I don't think this is full-size. I think this is like maybe a travel size. This is the Laura Mercier Foundation Primer Radiance, and it's 30 mils or 1 ounce. I think the big full-size one is probably double that, so thank goodness I didn't buy double of that, because that's a lot of primer. So I have this on, mostly on my cheeks and my forehead, but not around my nose and my chin, because while it is winter, I still get a little oily there, a little bit. And then I stumbled across this Smashbox Photo Finish Hydrating Under Eye Primer that I've used quite a bit of it up. It's a nice little primer, so I do want to use this up. I'm not even sure if they make it anymore. I've probably used about half of it, and it is a nice little under eye primer, but it's not terribly moisturizing. So you have to still layer it with some moisturizer. So I want to use this up. It has a little bit of like a brightener in there underneath the eyes. This would be really good if you're a little bit younger and you don't have dry under eyes. Really nice. Before I leave the under eyes, I'll go ahead and share. I do have a little concealer under there, and it is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, and this is the brightener shade, and I've used up quite a bit of this, so I went ahead and marked it. I should go through this pretty quickly. I can remember using this a lot, especially if I was doing like a smoky eye, because I sometimes feel like a smoky eye can really make your under eyes look a little dark for some reason. And so I always liked using the brightener shade under my eyes when I was doing a darker smoky eye. So I do want to use this up. I really liked this, and this is something I would definitely repurchase, but I have an amazing amount of concealer in my stash. All right, let's talk about what I have on for my complexion today, and then I'll finish up with the eyes. So I pulled out this Maybelline Dream Cushion foundation in the shade 20. I'll make a note of it down below if they're still selling this. I bought this quite a while ago for a video, and I used it and I loved it. I thought it had a beautiful consistency. When I used it today, it is on its last legs. There's probably only 2 or 3 more applications in here. It's getting a little dry, and it is a little dark for my complexion. So I did go over it with a damp beauty blender to kind of blend it out, but I think I can use this up and it'll be done in 2 or 3 applications. While I loved the finish on this and the application was fine, I find that these don't hold a lot. And I feel like there's a lot of waste in them. There's only like half of a fluid ounce in here, and the sponge absorbs some, and it's hard to get it, I think, to get it all out and use all the product. But if you are inclined to use this kind of product, this is a nice one from the drugstore. Then for a loose powder, I pulled the Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder that Emily Noel recommended, and I used in that video where I did mostly all drugstore products that she had recommended, and I gave them a go. I really like this powder, but I really hate this packaging, so I would like to use it up and get it out of my collection. It's a brand new container. It'll probably take me a heck of a long time to get through it. We'll see, but that's what I'm going to use up. Then on my cheeks, I found this little blush duo. It was mixed in with my eyeshadow palettes. It's from Bobbi Brown, and it's in Sand Pink and Pale Pink. And, you know, this looks scary, but it really isn't. I'm wearing both these shades today. This one more on the apple of my cheek, and this almost a little bit more like a contour. And it's very nice. I just thought, oh, you know, why was it down there with my eyeshadow palettes? I should be using it. So it was the first blush that I wanted to put in this project. And then for a highlighter, which I see is really pretty glowy with this studio lighting, it is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. And this is a rather large tube. I think it says, glasses please, 1.35 ounces or 40 mils. So almost an ounce and a half. And this is in the shade 901. Super pretty, super pretty. There's a ton of it in here, and I just wanted to give it some good use. All right, let's talk about eyes. So I decided I would jump back in and use this Dose of Colors Pretty Cool eyeshadow palette. It is just some really lovely little nudes, and I think when I bought this, I used it a couple times and I was like, it's nice, but it isn't the thing, it wasn't the holy grail that I thought it was going to be, and so it kind of got set aside. So I want to give it some love, make sure I really want to still keep it in my collection, and if not, I'm going to declutter it. So that's the story. I thought I got a pretty look out of it today, and I didn't use all the colors. I think I used like the first two colors and then this dark color. I think that's what I did. For an eyeshadow base, I pulled out an older Bobbi Brown long wearing cream eyeshadow stick. This is in the shade Nude Beach, and I like using the vanilla one better because it is a little bit more neutral. So this has a little bit more color, but it's not a color that I like standalone on me. I think it just pulls a little too warm. So I really only will use it under eyeshadow. And I did go ahead and I marked it on here, how much I have, just as a way to monitor and note my progress. So I went ahead and pulled the It Cosmetics Superhero Mascara. I don't love it, but I would like to get some use out of it since I paid like $25 for it. So that's the mascara I'm wearing. I'm also curious to see is if it dries up a little bit, if I will like it a little bit more. It goes on pretty wet and heavy, and I think that's what I really don't like about it. And then on my lips, I'm wearing NARS Dolce Vita because I would like to use this up. The outside packaging has become very tacky. Like, you know how the NARS packaging gets? Sometimes it gets like cruddy. I don't, you know, it's cool when you first get it, but now it feels like old Tupperware. And it's a great nude, so I want to just use this up. And I think it's super pretty. I would definitely repurchase this if I didn't have a million other shades that were really kind of similar. That's what I have on my face. But I have a few other little bits and bobs here to go over. And before I go over those, I do want to just talk about this little palette that I showed in my eyeshadow palette collection. It is like a super teeny tiny full face palette from Bobbi Brown. It's about the size of a credit card, and I went up to see my dad on his 90th birthday, and this is what I packed to go. And it's a pretty terrific, well-balanced, basic little palette for traveling. So I'm actually going to stick this in my cosmetic bag that I travel with, and hopefully I will go a few more places a few more times and want to wear a little makeup while I'm there. So that's going in there, and it's definitely a keeper because, wow, you cannot beat this size. Because I knew I only had a handful of applications of this foundation left in this, I wanted to pull a second one to work on. And I went ahead and pulled the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Hydrating Gel Cream. I'm in shade 1.5 Birch. I really love this. I've had multiple tubes of this. I've used a fair amount of this, but I do want to use it up. I have a lot of foundation inventory, and some of it, the color doesn't work, so part of this whole process is also to see, like, do I still want to keep this foundation in my collection? I think I'd like to end up with only 3 or 4 foundations, and I have a whole lot more. I'll probably do a separate video on like my foundations and concealers, but for now, this is the next stop after I use up that cushion foundation. When I was going through my palettes, it reminded me of some of the things that I have in my collection. I was like, this one, I was like, oh, I would like to play with this a little bit. I think I've used so many neutral palettes that this one really appealed to me. This is from Kat Von D. This is the Spellbinding Eyeshadow book, and it was a holiday release, I don't know when, but it has quite a few eyeshadows in there, and they are pretty colorful. But I think I mentioned the way they're laid out in pairs, so you would pair this color and this color. And I would really love to go through and try all these pairs together and see what's there that I like. Do I still want to hold on to this? You know, I don't wear a lot of color on a regular basis, but I find this very appealing. I want to do a little playtime. So I know I talked about this group of products when I was doing like my favorites and fails purchases from 2020 from Sephora, and it was these cream to powder eyeshadows from Ilia. The backstory is I got one and I really loved it. I loved it so much I bought 2 more colors, and then I started using them again and I was like, these crease like heck, and I'm not that thrilled with them. So I want to really test these out, give them a good go, and see, do I want to keep these? Is it worth keeping them? Will I use them? I know that's a lot of eyeshadow here. We'll see how I do. Some things may roll over into the next month. We will see. And then I have a couple of little miscellaneous things. Oh, yes. So because this is quite low, who knows? It'll probably take me a lot longer to use up that little bit than I think. But I also have another Instant Age Rewind, and this is in the shade Light. So obviously I've used quite a bit of this as well. This is a great product. This is like an OG concealer. People loved this and they used it a ton, and for a good reason. It's a great little concealer. Oh my gosh, I have stuff all over this desk. Like, what? Where am I going with this? I also pulled this Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and who knows how much is in here because I cannot tell. It doesn't, you know, when you shake it, nothing moves. Stuff still comes out of it. This time of day, the sun is like right here and it peeks behind in between the shade and the window. Yeah, I should know better than to film this time of day because it's very tricky. Anyway, this is more of a moisturizing setting mist. And, you know, as we head into the summer months, I won't be reaching for this. So I'm thinking maybe I can use this up before we get too far into summer. We'll see how that goes. Then I have 2 skincare products that I want to use. The first is from Peter Thomas Roth. It's the Water Drench Hyaluronic Cloud Hydrogel Eye Patches. And there's quite a few in here. So they look like this. They are like a silicone eye patch that you put on, and it has some product on there. I really want to use these up because they're in a jar, and I'm afraid they will dry out. Whereas like the Wander Beauty eye patches I have, they're all individually sealed, so I have less worry there. So I want to work my way through these. And then I have this Kiehl's Midnight Recovery Concentrate, which I've used about this much of it. I need to mark it. So I don't love using this on my face because it is highly, highly fragranced. It's a lovely like an oil blend, but I will not use this on my face. It's just too smelly. It smells good, but I don't want that on my face. So I have started using it on the back of my hands because, you know, the hands are the first sign of aging. This will work great on that, and then I don't have to use it on my face. So it's a little tip, you know, if I buy a skincare product that I really don't love on my face, I will use it on my hands. That's the plan for this bad boy. So my plan for this project is for like the complexion and the skincare and that kind of thing. I want to try and pan that. Use it all up and be done with it. The color products, I will probably rotate out either on a monthly basis or an every other month basis, like depending on how much I get through. This is a lot of color to get through. But I also have these that I want to get through. So we'll see. We'll see how much I, you know, am able to use and feel comfortable. I gave it a good shot. Yes, no. This is what some people call like a rolling project pan. So you have pretty much a full face of makeup. As you use things up, you put new things in. So like if I used up all of these concealers, I would just go ahead and swap in a new concealer and you would hear about it when I did the recap. So that's kind of the plan. Or, you know, like if I get tired of using this, I'm giving myself permission to swap it out for something else. So, you know, the rules aren't so hard and fast that I couldn't swap things out and move things along and just keep going. Keep going, putting new things in. So it is like a rolling project pan. But my other goal is really to touch base with a lot of my eyeshadow palettes. Some of the ones that I was like, oh, I forgot I had this, or I haven't used this in so long, I want to use it again. That kind of thing. So that's one of the things I'm going to be really focusing on, is really moving some of those eyeshadow palettes through. And I want to see how many I can actually like touch for the remainder of this year. I know I should have started this in January. I just didn't have my act together enough to do it, so I'm starting it right now. It's going to be pretty much the beginning of March. So my thought is I'm going to go ahead and post my look of the day on Instagram and give you a clear view of like the products that I used that day, and then give you the look of the day so you can see what that looks like. And that, I think, would be easier for me in terms of sharing each look, because there's a lot of color product here to get through for the eyeshadow, and I'm not sure there's a really concise way to put that into a YouTube video. So that is my plan. I'll include my Instagram handle here and a link to it down below in the description box. I'll also include a list of all the products I'm using, whether they're in stock or out of stock, discontinued. You know, I'll still include a list of what it is that I have in this kind of floating project pan, just so we can all stay on the same page. So I'd love to know if you are doing a project pan this year, and what kind of project pan you're doing. You know, part of the reason why I was a little late getting started, because I had a couple of different ideas on how I wanted to do this. And I ultimately decided I didn't want to try and pan a palette. That was one thing I was thinking about. And I think I know myself. I like the variety too much. So I didn't want to be locked into one palette for the whole year, because honestly, it would probably take a whole year to pan a palette. If you have a palette that you saw from my palette video that you're like, I really want to see more about this palette or more looks from this palette, you know, leave it in the comments down below, and I will work on rolling those in earlier into the process rather than later. If I don't get any feedback, I'm just going to do whatever I want. I upload videos every Saturday morning, and I'll include a link to last week's video right up here, and I'll let YouTube make a recommendation on another video that maybe you'd be interested in watching right over here. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Mwah!